Well, there is no point in beating around the bush, so I'm going to just get right to it and jump right into things. About a quarter of the American people seem to be just elated over the election of our president-elect. About a quarter of the people are in deep, deep mourning and feeling deeply troubled. And about half of the people are either somewhere in the middle or don't seem to really care at all. Now those figures might be a little off, but I did some checking this week and looked at some charts, and it came across to me pretty clearly because 51 to 52% of the people in America who are eligible to vote did not choose to vote. Now, as I've been thinking about the events of this week, it's become very clear to me that the American dream does not mean the same thing to all people. I think that's always been the case, but our election and the ensuing events this past week has brought that to the forefront. It basically was able to shine light on this fact that we want different things. And there are people in this country that are very happy with the past 8 years of our current president's administration, and there are people who don't like any of it. And in case you haven't been listening to or watching the news at all this week, people feel very passionately on both sides. And this has to do with just about everything, from healthcare reform to immigration to marriage equality and LGBTQ rights and issues, trade, you name it. It seems like a quarter of the population are so happy, a quarter of the population are so unhappy, and again, about half the population either is somewhere in the middle or else doesn't really care. There's not much we can do about that, is there? Today, at this moment, maybe in the future. But as we move forward together, I've been contemplating quite a bit about who I am in the midst of all this and what my role is. And there really are two key roles that I feel like I play in this. Number one, I am a citizen of this great country, and I have a voice, and I have opinions, and I feel very strongly that it's important for me to say what I believe is true and right. And if I need to speak out, I will. If I need to act out, I will. But there's another role I play also, and that is the role of kahu. I am your pastor. And my job in that role is to invite you to come together in this beautiful, loving community of faith and to be who you are and to come with whatever it is that you believe needs to happen in our country, in our communities, in our world, and that you feel like this is a safe place to be who you are without being judged or bullied or condemned in any way or by anybody, including me, your pastor. There's a couple things I wrote down today. So I'm going to spend a little more time behind the pulpit just to make sure that I cover the things that are really important for me to say today. First of all, there are 4 commitments that I want to make to all of you as the members and friends of my church, of your church, our church. And I feel that it's very important as we move forward that you hear me very clearly make these commitments to you. First of all, when it comes to publicly speaking about politics and what's happening around us, I will speak as a citizen and not as your pastor. For I believe that each of you is entitled to speak your own mind. And just as I don't want any of you speaking on behalf of me politically, I can't imagine that you would want me to do that for you. My second commitment is that I will never tell you how to vote. I will never tell you who to vote for, what amendments to vote for, or how to vote in any way whatsoever. That is entirely up to you, and that is your right. Number 3, I will encourage all of us to be who we are and believe what we believe in a safe environment, in a supportive environment, in an environment where we love each other deeply, even when our political opinions might be very, very different from one another. And finally, my commitment to you as your pastor is that I will encourage all of us, beginning today, to dream together, to dream for a better nation and a better world, and to share our dreams with one another, even if our dreams might seem outrageous or crazy or, yes, even impossible. When the people during Isaiah's time, the prophet, were going through a really, really rough time in the life of their nation, Isaiah spoke to them. It was actually several people that we now call Isaiah. But these voices spoke words of, prophetic words, of not only warning, but also comfort to the people. And as we remember these words, it's really important for us to understand them by knowing what was going on at the time all around them. And so I remind you that when the writers and the first speakers of Isaiah were first writing and speaking, the great and powerful nations from the north had come down and invaded the territory, the people of Israel and of Judah. They had captured many of them, they had killed many of them, and many of those whom they had captured, they brought back by force into exile in order to control and virtually make as their slaves. This was a really, really tough time for their nation and for their communities of faith. I know we're going through a rough time as a country. And many communities of faith today are fracturing and people not speaking to each other and so on and so forth. But I think it's important that we listen to the words of Isaiah because those words are very appropriate for us today. As I was reading those words this week, it occurred to me that Isaiah was speaking as if he was sharing a dream with his people. And if you look at the very first words of the book of Isaiah, those words talk about Isaiah, son of Amoz, having a vision and what he sees. It sounds like a dream to me. As I read today's passage, it sounded like a dream just way too crazy to be true, way too impossible to even thinking that this could really happen, but he dreams anyway. And I would like to read to you, just kind of as a reminder of what was read in this morning's Old Testament lesson from Isaiah 65. This is Isaiah's dream in the midst of turmoil, of pain, and even death all around him. Here's what the dream says. God will create something altogether new, both a new heaven and a new earth. People will no longer remember their pain and their nation's devastation. Things are going to get that good. There will be no more weeping, no more infant mortality. Nearly everyone lives to 100 at least. In fact, those who only make it to 100 will be considered very young. Very young. There will be no homeless people anymore in this dream, and no more hunger. All of the babies and the children will be blessed. And so will all of their babies and all of their children. and so on and so forth to many descendants and generations. And God will answer our prayers even before we have a chance to speak them. And if you think so far that's crazy and ridiculous, absurd and impossible, listen to what's next. The wolf will no longer eat the lamb. All the carnivores are going to become vegetarians, not just the people. And the two, the wolf and the lamb, will eat together side by side. Even the lion will eat straw rather than other animals. And finally, the serpent, the poor serpent who gets the worst possible rap in the Bible, always getting the worst deal in the Bible. The serpent will no longer eat other animals, but only dust. My heart goes out to the serpent. But as you read this and you think, how could this be possible? This is way beyond the realm of possibility. There's no way this dream can ever happen. But I think the point in Isaiah is very clear. We're going to stop hurting each other. We're going to stop inflicting pain on each other. And yes, he goes so far as to even talk about animals. But his point isn't to tell the animals to stop hurting each other. His point is to tell us human beings to stop hurting each other. And as ridiculous and absurd and as crazy and as impossible as that might seem, what an amazing dream to have anyway. I'm so glad it's there. And I'm so glad that there are other people besides me that like to dream impossible dreams. One of those dreams I would like to read to you. I know that you know this dream. We've all heard it many times before, but it's so important for us to hear it today. On August 28, 1963, Martin Luther King Jr. delivered from Washington, D.C., what is now called the famous I Have a Dream speech. Arguably one of the most famous speeches, maybe the most famous speech in our nation's history. As I reread this speech this week, I wonder how crazy it must have sounded in 1963. And how many people must have said, yeah, right, that's never going to happen. But nevertheless, Martin Luther King Jr. dreamed his dream, and he said his dream out loud, and he said it not just out loud to his own people, he said it to everyone. And a lot of that dream has come true since then. We still have a long ways to go, because there still is a lot of racism in our country. I think that has come to light. I think the election has shed a lot of light on that this week. And there's also a lot of sexism and many other isms. But listen to just a part of the dream, the part that I was reading this week that I thought, this is so relevant today. I say to you today, my friends, so even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day, this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day, even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day down in Alabama, with its vicious racists, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification, that one day, right down in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted, every hill and mountain shall be made low, the rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is our hope. This is the faith that I will go back to the South with. With this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. Like I said, some of this dream has already come true. But over 50 years later, we are still dreaming for other parts of that dream to come true. As I considered this dream, it occurred to me that maybe for us today, it is an invitation for all of us to dream. And so I took the liberty of writing down my dream, and I thought, I would like to share this with you today. Here's my dream. I too have a dream. Even as we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, just like Americans faced difficulties 53 years ago. And I believe that my dream is also deeply rooted in the American dream, just as King's dream was. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning, actually a brand new meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all people are created equal. And that means females and males, and those who identify with a different gender than the one they are assigned by biology or culture, and those who don't even care what gender they are. It means people of all colors, people of all sexual orientations, people of all religions, people of all cultures, people of all ages, people of all incomes, people of all kinds of education, both formal and informal, and people living in all parts of our country. I have a dream that one day, on the red hills of Kauai, the daughters and the sons of staunch Democrats and staunch Republicans will sit down together at the table of Ohana and embrace and eat and thoroughly enjoy talking story together and sharing their personal philosophies and their desires and dreams without any fear of judgment or condemnation. The differences of opinions will be shared in a spirit of compassion and never, ever in a spirit of threat or condemnation. I have a dream that one day this great nation of ours, where there still is injustice and oppression, will be transformed into a community of welcome, freedom, and justice for all. I have a dream that we will leave this world a better place for all of our children. Better water, better air, better land, better relationships, better economies, better schools, better healthcare, better opportunities. I have a dream that our elected officials, regardless of their political parties, will work together in cooperation with each other, with compassion, for the people of this world. And that our next president will courageously strive to unite our divided country in a spirit of honesty, in a spirit of kindness, in a spirit of peace and freedom and justice for every single person. I have a dream that we will all grab a hold of that stone of hope which Dr. King envisioned to be hewn out of the mountain of despair, and that this stone would not only be of hope, but also of commitment and promise to create a better nation and a better world. That this new era would result in our working together as Republicans and Democrats, straight and queer, young and old, black, brown, white, Christian, Jew, Muslim, Buddhist, and all the rest. I have a dream that we will all be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, and to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will indeed all be free someday. This is my dream. It is a dream that I will carry with me when I leave the four walls of this church. And as I look forward to no longer hearing the noise of bullying and violence, nor the cries of the poor and the hungry, nor the screams of those who have been treated unjustly. Rather, I look forward to hearing the beautiful music of compassion, of peace, and of justice all around. Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you.